What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Talk. Today, let's get started with Kamaru Usman and Ariel Helwani have unexpectedly found themselves in a heated back and forth after Helwani made sharp comments regarding the idea of Usman receiving a title shot against Islam Makhachev. The situation escalated quickly, turning a simple opinion into a full-blown dispute between one of MMA's most prominent journalists and a former UFC champion. The controversy began when Ariel Helwani criticized discussions around Usman potentially jumping into a lightweight title fight. Helwani called the idea a travesty, arguing that the only reason the matchup was even being entertained was due to Usman's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, working behind the scenes, not because of Usman's recent performances. Helwani suggested that the conversation was more about influence and politics than merit. To be fair, Usman is coming off a significant victory over Joaquin Buckley, who had been on a strong run and appeared almost unstoppable before meeting the former welterweight champion. That win, paired with Usman's exceptional resume and long-standing dominance at 170 pounds, has led a portion of fans to believe he deserves fast-track consideration. However, many in the MMA community still feel the welterweight division is too stacked at the moment, and that Usman should take one more fight before entering another title conversation. Usman didn't take Helwani's remarks lightly. Alongside Henry Cejudo on their podcast, he responded firmly, criticizing Helwani's qualifications and credibility. Usman argued that fighters should no longer feel obligated to appear on shows hosted by people he described as glorified fans. According to him, true journalists are those who speak with fighters before events, gather real insight, and produce legitimate reporting, not personalities who build their platforms on opinions and hot takes. He went on to say that people like Helwani only talk about him to stay relevant. Usman emphasized that he never mentions Helwani because he simply doesn't care, but the attention he receives proves one thing: he is still a major figure in the sport. "I'm the big dog," Usman said. "I'm the name. That's why they're talking about me." The exchange has reignited discussion about media responsibility, fighter respect, and the often tense relationship between athletes and journalists in the world of MMA. Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out, and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Ariel Helwani has officially fired back at Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, and his response reflects years of underlying tension that finally erupted. To understand why Helwani reacted so sharply, it's important to revisit the long and complicated history between the veteran MMA journalist, Usman, and Usman's manager, Ali Abdelaziz. During Usman's reign as UFC welterweight champion, Abdelaziz banned ESPN from interviewing any of his fighters, claiming the issue was personal and accusing Helwani of unfairly targeting his athletes. While Helwani remained mostly quiet publicly, the friction clearly lingered beneath the surface. That strained relationship resurfaced periodically, including in 2023 when Helwani interviewed Dricus du Plessis and pressed him on his African identity in relation to Usman and Adesanya. Usman's team felt Helwani was stirring up unnecessary racial angles, which further deepened the divide. Now, after Usman criticized Helwani's qualifications as a journalist and dismissed him as a media personality, Helwani finally responded with full force. He called out what he described as hypocrisy and revisionist history, pointing out that Usman greatly benefited from Abdelaziz's influence within the UFC while simultaneously accusing the media of bias. Helwani argued that fighters praise the media when coverage aligns with their goals, but the moment rankings or commentary go against them, journalists suddenly become unqualified or irrelevant. Helwani also addressed Usman's claim that he is no longer invited to UFC events. He clarified that media members don't receive invites, they apply for credentials. Whether approval is granted is entirely up to the promotion. Helwani noted he hasn't applied for a UFC credential since March 2020, making the accusation misleading. He suggested Usman and Cejudo were attempting to attack him personally despite the facts being publicly available. Helwani further emphasized that his criticism wasn't personal. He simply stated Usman, who is 1-3 since 2021 with only one victory this past June, does not merit an immediate title shot. He stressed that he never called Usman a bum or diminished his career accomplishments. Instead, his point was strictly about competitive fairness. According to Helwani, Usman's emotional reaction proves one thing: his comment struck a nerve, and in Helwani's view, that nerve is the uncomfortable reality of Usman's recent record and current position in the title picture. Move on to another news. In an unexpected turn of events, Michael Bisping has issued sharp criticism toward Tom Aspinall after weeks of publicly defending him throughout the eye poke controversy. The shift surprised many MMA fans, especially given Bisping's consistent support for Aspinall, support that came not only from national camaraderie as fellow English fighters but also from Bisping's personal experience dealing with severe eye injuries during his own career. However, Bisping has now expressed concern that Aspinall is mishandling the situation. In recent weeks, Aspinall has flooded social media with medical updates, videos from doctor appointments, scans, test results, and constant reports about his vision. His intention appears to be proving that the eye poke was legitimate, the injury was real, and that he never quit or faked anything. But according to Bisping, this approach is doing more harm than good. Bisping believes Aspinall is unintentionally feeding the controversy rather than letting it fade. The more content he posts, Bisping argues, the more it looks like he is desperately trying to convince people instead of carrying himself with the confidence expected from a heavyweight champion. Coming from someone who fought much of his UFC career with only one functional eye, Bisping's criticism carries significant weight. Bisping, along with Paul Felder, is advising Aspinall to move on from the incident and stop dwelling on public perception. They argue that fans do not want a champion who appears overwhelmed or fixated on proving himself through emotional updates and medical evidence. Instead, they want a fighter who stays focused, stays driven, and projects resilience. Bisping emphasized that the tone of Aspinall's posts, bordering on frustration, vulnerability, and defensiveness, may be giving critics ammunition. He suggested Aspinall should shift his mindset toward recovery, training, and preparing for his return. Felder echoed this sentiment, noting that even if the constant backlash is difficult to deal with, the best response is simply to heal, come back stronger, and silence doubters inside the octagon rather than on social media. Both analysts even suggested Aspinall lean into the villain role if necessary, embrace the criticism, stop trying to please everyone, and let future performances speak for themselves. In their view, if Aspinall returns, dominates an opponent like Cyril Gane, and speaks with confidence afterward, fans will rally behind him instantly. Move on to another news. Sean O'Malley has weighed in on several major storylines currently circulating throughout the MMA world, including Ilia Topuria's highly publicized divorce situation and his own upcoming matchup against Song Yadong at UFC 324. O'Malley reacted to the news that Topuria's personal issues have forced him out of competition until at least spring 2026, a development that has generated widespread discussion due to the public nature of the circumstances. According to O'Malley, dealing with something that personal in the spotlight is brutal, especially with children involved, and he expressed genuine sympathy for the featherweight champion. Turning to his own career, O'Malley addressed his placement on the UFC 324 lineup. Despite being one of the promotion's most recognizable stars, he was slotted third on the card. O'Malley laughed about the situation on his podcast, joking that he wasn't even the co-main event and teasing that he might end up fighting on the prelims next time. But underneath the humor lies one of the most important fights of his career. For the first time in his UFC run, O'Malley enters an event on a two-fight losing streak. Another loss would almost certainly push him toward a move to featherweight, something he has openly discussed for years. Stylistically, Song Yadong presents both danger and opportunity. Yadong is powerful, explosive, and constantly pressing forward, but he is also defensively vulnerable. On paper, this is the type of matchup O'Malley should handle if he is still operating at an elite level. His length, counter-striking, distance control, and footwork line up well against Yadong's aggressive bursts. A strong performance could stabilize O'Malley's position in the division, but even with a win, a trilogy fight with Merab Dvalishvili remains unlikely. The bantamweight division has evolved quickly, contenders are rising, and O'Malley's long-term future at 135 pounds is far from secure. Regarding Topuria's ongoing divorce battle, O'Malley commented on how messy and emotionally draining the situation must be, especially since the details are playing out publicly online. He mentioned reports that Topuria's wife is seeking half of everything and that allegations of inappropriate messages have surfaced, making the situation even more complicated. With two children involved, O'Malley emphasized how much harder such issues become and why Fight Camp is the last place anyone would want to be during a crisis like that. Despite the chaos, O'Malley remains focused on his own crossroads moment. UFC 324 is not just another appearance, it's the fight that may decide which weight class defines the next chapter of his career. Move on to another news. Arman Tsarukyan has made a bold claim regarding the UFC's matchmaking plans, revealing that the promotion originally intended to book a blockbuster fight fight between Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett in January. According to Tsarukyan, this matchup was already being shaped behind the scenes long before Topuria's recent withdrawal from competition due to ongoing personal issues. With Topuria now out until at least the first quarter of 2026, the UFC has shifted directions, resulting in Paddy Pimblett being lined up to face Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight title. Tsarukyan said he was aware that the UFC wanted Topuria versus Pimblett well before any official discussions became public. In his view, the UFC was preparing that fight regardless of what happened in his own matchup with Topuria. Even if he had knocked Topuria out, Tsarukyan believes the promotion was moving forward with a predetermined plan centered on Pimblett's star power. He suggested that Topuria's withdrawal, publicly attributed to family and personal issues, may not be the full story. Instead, Tsarukyan believes the UFC is strategically positioning Pimblett for a major push. He argued that the promotion sees Pimblett as a future marquee attraction, someone who can bring massive attention to a championship fight, especially if paired with a high-profile name like Topuria. In Tsarukyan's view, the UFC hoped to build the matchup into a rivalry on the level of Khabib versus Conor McGregor, a fight that transcended the sport itself. Tsarukyan went further, claiming that the UFC is hesitant to give him a title shot because they know how dangerous he is. He argued that even if Pimblett becomes champion, the UFC would avoid matching them up immediately, fearing that Tsarukyan would halt the momentum they are trying to build around one of their biggest rising stars. He also dismissed the competition in his division, stating confidently that Pimblett would be easy work and that even Topuria would not pose any serious threat. The only opponent he considered a real challenge was Islam Makhachev, who is now out of the lightweight division picture. With Islam gone, Tsarukyan believes there is no one left on his level and asserts that he remains the most deserving fighter to hold the lightweight crown. Move on to another news. Tom Aspinall has made it clear that when he returns to competition, fans will be seeing a very different version of him. After suffering an eye injury at UFC 321, an incident that created widespread controversy and led to an outpouring of criticism from portions of the MMA community, Aspinall says he is done trying to please people or maintain a polite public image. The heavyweight star revealed that the backlash he has received, along with the way the UFC and some key figures responded to the situation, has completely shifted his mindset. In the weeks following the event, Aspinall found himself unexpectedly targeted online. Despite the visible nature of his injury and confirmed medical findings, some fans, influencers, and even fellow fighters questioned his toughness, his legitimacy as an undisputed champion, and his intentions during the fight with Cyril Gane. Aspinall tried to stay calm and engage respectfully, repeatedly providing medical updates and documentation in an effort to be transparent with fans. But instead of putting the controversy to rest, it only fueled more doubt. Aspinall admitted that the past month has changed him. He has always been known as one of the most humble, respectful heavyweights on the roster, rarely trash-talking, rarely getting involved in drama, and always maintaining a calm, approachable demeanor. But according to him, that approach is done. He said that he has learned the hard way that being the nice guy doesn't earn fairness, respect, or loyalty in the fight game. In fact, he now believes it has made him an easy target. He referenced the reactions from Cyril Gane and even UFC President Dana White, both of whom made comments that frustrated fans and added more fuel to the narrative surrounding Aspinall's injury. Now, Tom says that once he is healed, the version of him that steps back into the octagon will be dramatically different. He plans to drop the polite persona entirely and lean fully into the villain role if that's what it takes to defend his reputation and career. As soon as I come back, there's no more Mr. Nice Guy, Aspinall declared. The nice, humble Tom is gone. I'm going full bad guy. With that vow, the heavyweight division may be welcoming a more aggressive, unapologetic, outspoken Tom Aspinall, and fans are already wondering how this new persona will reshape his future. Move on to another news. Israel Adesanya has once again captured the attention of the MMA world after releasing new footage of an intense sparring session with rising lightweight striker Mauricio Ruffi. The former UFC middleweight champion shared clips of the training session on social media, showcasing high-level striking exchanges conducted in 4-ounce gloves, an unusual and dramatically riskier choice for sparring. The decision alone highlights just how seriously both athletes approached the session. Mauricio Ruffi, known for his flashy, creative, and unpredictable striking, has repeatedly expressed admiration for Adesanya. In past interviews, he described training with the last stylebender as a personal dream and a milestone he hoped to achieve in his martial arts career. Now, that dream has finally finally materialize. The released footage shows Ruffy and Adesanya exchanging rapid-fire combinations, sharp counters, feints, and fluid footwork, exactly the type of high-level striking duel fans would expect from two elite technicians. Throughout the session, the energy is intense yet respectful. Adesanya, operating with his trademark calmness and creativity, pushes the pace while simultaneously allowing Ruffy the space to showcase his own dynamic style. Ruffy, visibly motivated and confident, responds with speed, spinning attacks, and crisp boxing combinations, testing Adesanya's timing and reactions. At several moments, the session heats up to a level that feels closer to a real fight than standard sparring, something highlighted by the repeated calls of heat echoing through the footage. This wasn't a light technical workout, it was a striking chess match mixed with genuine fire. For Adesanya, this type of technical, high-intensity sparring aligns perfectly with his reputation as a fighter who constantly seeks new challenges and creative stimuli. For Ruffy, sharing the cage with one of the greatest strikers in MMA history serves as both valuable experience and a huge career moment. The session has quickly gained traction online, with fans praising the display of skill, mutual respect, and competitive spirit. Whether this marks the beginning of a longer training partnership remains to be seen, but for now, the footage stands as an exciting window into world-class striking at its finest. Move on to another news. The combat sports world was shaken this week by unexpected news. Ronda Rousey, one of the most iconic figures in MMA history, is reportedly in active negotiations to make her long-awaited return to competition, but not inside the octagon. According to a new report from Boxing Scene, Rousey is exploring a potential professional boxing match against Irish superstar Katie Taylor. The bout, which is being discussed for Las Vegas in 2026, does not yet have a finalized date, but the negotiations are said to be serious. Adding even more intrigue, the report states that Netflix is expressing strong interest in broadcasting the event, marking yet another major step in the streaming platform's push into live sports. Rousey has recently fueled comeback speculation through a series of interviews and training videos posted to her social media accounts. While she has refused to commit to any definitive competitive return, these new reports suggest that discussions are progressing behind the scenes. If finalized, this would mark Rousey's first professional fight in a decade. Her last appearance in the UFC came in 2016, after which she stepped away from MMA entirely. Since leaving the sport, the 38-year-old pioneer has pursued numerous entertainment ventures, most notably a successful run with the WWE. During her time in professional wrestling, Rousey achieved mainstream crossover success, culminating in her participation in the first women's match to ever headline WrestleMania, an event widely regarded as WWE's flagship show. Her involvement helped solidify her status as a global star beyond MMA. Katie Taylor, on the other hand, remains one of the most respected and accomplished boxers in the world. Fresh off consecutive decision victories over fellow legend Amanda Serrano, Taylor has continued to cement her legacy while entering the later stages of her career. Her popularity has surged thanks to high-profile promotion by Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions, helping her reach a global audience unlike ever before. A Rousey vs. Taylor matchup would be a blockbuster crossover event, one blending star power, history, and intrigue. The idea of an MMA legend stepping into the ring against one of boxing's greatest ambassadors has already sparked widespread debate among fans and analysts. If negotiations succeed, 2026 might deliver one of the most fascinating matchups in women's combat sports history.